Hi guys and gals, Dennis Brown here again for Firefly guitar fans with a exclusive first look at the brand new Firefly FFLP Classic. I know nobody's hardly heard that word classic, but this is considered the classic model because there are other models on the way, but I can't tell you any more yet. But so this is actually what is gone into the channel and what's coming into the channel, and in the future is going to be known as the Classic, which is a straightforward guitar inspired by the Gibson Les Paul, but in no way, shape, or form does it infringe on their copyrights. Let me let you take a good look at the guitar. It is a flamed maple top, nice frets, nice rosewood, traditional logo, but they made it gold in the middle for some reason, and that's actually going to get changed. You can see that the tuners are a domed top, so that's new. I was going to do a video that compared this to the prototype, but it almost seems kind of pointless because they're virtually identical. The only differences really between this and the prototype are things that I already told you they were going to change, which is the electronics. The prototypes had good electronics, good fat pots and all that. They went to a nicer set, but I told you that in the first look video for the prototype. The tuners were good on it, but I told you once again, they were going to a nicer tuner. The pickups are exactly the same. The tone is exactly the same. The stop bar, I was told at that time that the stop bar, the prototype was farther back. And we contacted them and said, yeah, that's not quite right. And so we thought that this first batch was going to be too far back, which it works just fine. I mean, I kind of like it there, to be honest. It's less string angle, but they were able to get that fixed in this batch. So there's just not a huge amount of difference. So the prototype and the final product is, there wasn't a lot of change. It didn't need a lot of change. The back of it, I figured out one reason why the last one was baffling me. I was trying to figure out, and you can see the wood grain a little better here. I kept saying there's just no way this is one piece. But it looks one piece. Well, it's because that's a veneer. They put a thin veneer on the back to give it the look. So that way, because all of these are actually two piece. More on that in just a second. They're actually two piece, and this way, if you put a veneer on the back, if the two pieces are a little bit different, it doesn't look weird. And any of you that have bought Epiphones or anything else, you probably have seen some that they just don't match, and cheaper guitars certainly, especially guitars in this price range, don't. So that's how they deal with it. They just throw a veneer on the back, and it looks good. You can't really, I couldn't tell until it was brought up, and I asked George about it. While these are two piece, a lot of guys like me normally think, okay, well that means it's split down the middle, and this is one piece, and this is one. No, that's not how they do it. Mine, I'm gonna have to get some reading glasses because it's so hard to see. You can see a joint there. Okay, not the greatest joint, but that's the only flaw, and I really hesitate to call that a flaw. There's a tiny piece of wood here. That's the second piece. The rest of this is one piece. So I mean, that doesn't even count as far as tonal, characteristics as two piece. It's going to sound just like a one piece because 98% of the body is one piece. So I mean, they're doing it with boards that are almost big enough to do one piece. So that's good. That's a good thing as far as the tone and everything is concerned. In the smaller picture, you can kind of see the flaming. It's different, but it's just as good. This is the Cherry Sunburst. It's not as eye-popping cherry Kool-Aid red as maybe this camera right here. As it looks here, it looks closer to what you see in this camera, and I like it. It looks more aged. It looks more like an older guitar in that respect. That's aged down just a little bit. So it's a very nice looking guitar, and you have the same on the back. The same type of finish. It's a vintage cherry type finish. It's not an eye-popping Kool-Aid cherry. The neck joint is the way that the neck is done. There's no scarf joint whatsoever. It's a true one-piece neck, true set neck. You can look here and see that it's done exactly like the big boys do it. As far as the joint, it looks indistinguishable from how they do. I mean, I'm sure if you set them side by side, you can nitpick, but it's a good solid set neck joint, just like what the big boys use. The hardware is better than the prototype, I will say that, and it's better than the 338. It's better than the other two pneumatics that they've used. This is a I'm not sure how to get it there to you. It's a beefier piece, and it's got the large posts, and if you notice, it's wider, so you have a larger range that you can move them forward and backward and get them into intonation. So good beefy piece. I'm happy with that. No buzz, no sounds, no anything. And I mean, and this is, by the way, this guitar that you're going to hear today, and this is just a first look. I haven't gone in and set anything. This is literally pull it out of the box. It's got the stock strings. I haven't set the intonation. This is exactly the experience that you would get if you just opened up the box, plugged it in, and started playing. And I kind of like to do these first look whenever possible that way. And if it has to be adjusted, I'll tell you. But I generally like to try to do these doing the least amount of work. Yeah, I still have the plastic on everything, so the knobs, you'll notice, are a little more this way than the big boys do. That's another deal with lawsuits and things like that. You have to make them different in some significant ways. And my impressions of the pickups so far, I liked them when I plugged them into the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. I thought this was a little warm. As soon as I plugged it into the Marshall, it was like, oh. And I told y'all I've been falling in love with that Marshall. It just opened up, and it just sounds fantastic. No complaints. I wouldn't change the pickups. The pickups that are in this the way they are, I have no plans of ever changing them because they're way better than average as they are. And when you consider the price, that's saying something. So no noise, no pops, no clicks. It's got the good big old fat orange caps in it. It plays great straight out of the box, and I've heard basically the same from most people that I've talked to, which is they might have adjusted a little bit on intonation, and that was it, or lowered the bridge to get a little bit lower action, but I haven't even heard anybody needing to adjust the truss rod. So although I'm sure some will have to tighten when you're shipping across country and all that. Cross country, across the globe, things adjust, things shift, things get hot, get cold, but no major work needed to play this. I mean, you could probably take 15 minutes just to do some quick setup. The nut is set right. The nut is bone. It's cut perfect on my. And this one was not a special for testers only guitar. This was yanked out of the stock and randomly sent to me. I got just one out of the middle of the batch. So unlike prototypes, and I understand people that are skeptical about prototypes. Yeah, it's easy to make the prototype good, because you can put a lot of attention and it's the prototype. But this isn't. This is just like what you ordered and what you'll order once they come back into stock. I don't see any finish, and I kind of like that reflection, because that lets you see that there really aren't any flaws in the finish. You can see the monitor back there and all that. It's a nice clean finish. It's urethane. Nut is 43, once again, 43 millimeter, which is just like a Gibson. The fretboard is 12-inch radius, just like a Gibson. And all of this will be in the credits too, by the way. The scale is 24 3/4 inch, just like a Gibson. It's an arched maple top. It's mahogany. It's probably NATO. NATO's in the mahogany family, and it's probably NATO, even though it's okay to call NATO mahogany because it's a type of mahogany. For those that are really, really nitpicky, it's probably all NATO except for the cap, which is the part that makes this arched, and the flamed, which is a veneer. It's cut very, very thin, and then it's matched on and glued onto here. And that's how you can do a flame maple top and still do it affordably, is to use a very, very thin piece of wood. So you can get, 50 guitars out of one block of wood like this instead of two. So it does make it more affordable. I just don't see any upgrades needed on this one, and that's kind of unusual. The Fireflies are kind of known as great mod platforms, but they've really, really stepped it up. They did a lot of testing with these pickups. I know that Chris has gotten some pickup. I got some pickups, and some I liked, some I didn't. The ones he put in were the ones that Chris and I I think others. I just can't think of the names right off the top of my head. But and from feedback, obviously, in the Firefly Guitar Fans channel. So the first look is excellent. Just could not ask for any more. It's as near perfection as I've seen in any $300 or $400 guitar. Better than average for a $300 or $400 guitar, except that it costs way under $200. So it's hard to complain. So hold on a second, and let's give her a listen. your first look at the new Firefly LP version, the Classic series, with more series to come out in 2020. And we'll give you information as that becomes available as well. And of course, the best place to get your information is the Firefly Guitar Fans group. That's Firefly Guitar Fans. If you're not getting your Firefly news, from there, it's either old news or fake news. We talk directly to the factory almost daily. And, we've got a ton of folks in there that have great tips, great information on how to do mods, how to do improvements. And it's just a fun group. So, if you haven't joined, join. So thanks again. And like I say, just keep an eye and ear out for the other videos for clean and distortion sounds with the new FFLP. And they'll be out soon. Thanks now.